What is going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And on this broadcast, we're going to be discussing what is, in my opinion, the most surprising move of the MLB 2022 winter meetings. And it's Xander Bogaerts going to the San Diego Padres. So we're going to look at 3 takeaways from this signing and what it means for the Padres and for Xander Bogaerts. So let's get into it with number 3. Now, when we look at this deal for the player that is Xander Bogaerts, we have to begin looking at who he is as a player and what he means to the Padres. This is an elite player, an offensive force, and someone who is going to be able to really help that Padres lineup, being able to really dominate the National League West division. I also think that when you look at what he is as a player, as a clubhouse figure, this is someone who can really mesh the chemistry. We know that there's going to be some ruffled feathers with Fernando Tatis Jr. once he comes back from his suspension at the end of April. This is a player in Fernando Tatis Jr. that believes he is and should be the shortstop, but that is now clear that he will not be, likely getting pushed out to one of the corner outfield spots. So Xander will be able to bring a kind of peaceful clubhouse atmosphere. Everything that's been said about him, that you hear about him, is that he is a wonderful clubhouse member, a wonderful teammate, on top of being an elite player. So this, to me, is going to be a player that helps that transition for the San Diego Padres in dealing with Fernando. I think that there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of things that get kind of brought up once Tatis finishes off his suspension at the end of April. But very little question that this is an elite player and an elite clubhouse presence. The second takeaway is the contract. An 11-year, $280 million deal for Xander Bogaerts with the San Diego Padres. We know that the Padres were very aggressive during these winter meetings. They were trying to get Trey Turner. They offered him $342 million. Lost out on him to the Philadelphia Phillies. They offered, supposedly, at least verbally, to Aaron Judge a $400 million deal. Lost out on Aaron Judge. So the Padres were not going to be iced out of the winter meetings. AJ Preller was going to get someone to take Peter Sadler's money. There's no doubt about it. Xander Bogaerts is a very good player. This is an elite shortstop. He improved his defensive metrics, even though he's not going to be the greatest defensive shortstop that was available on this market. You know what you're going to be getting offensively. This is going to be a guy that absolutely will help that lineup through and through. It's going to be able to lengthen the lineup in a very big way. Arguably, if you look at the projected lineup that MLB Network had once Tatis returns from his suspension, this is arguably a much better lineup than any other lineup in the National League West division, including the powerhouse Dodgers. So I think that there's a lot to like about the inclusion of Xander Bogaerts to the San Diego Padres. But when you look, it's an 11-year deal. Now, this offseason has, and as JP Morosi said on MLB Network, really shown the world that they no longer care, the baseball world no longer cares about the aging curve. And we will be seeing 40-year-old infielders and Trey Turner and now Xander Bogaerts. So it's going to be interesting to see how the final years of this deal will end up playing out, but it may look like a very different league at that point. So interesting, but a very surprising contract. The biggest surprise to me in terms of the contract was actually about the Red Sox and what they didn't offer. It was reported on Twitter that the Red Sox were way far off of the deal that Xander Bogaerts would eventually sign with the Padres, and that they weren't even at $200 million. That to me is the most surprising thing about Xander signing with the Padres over the Red Sox, because it's believed that Xander gave the Red Sox an opportunity to at least get into the ballpark of the figure. Many believe that they would not have had to match necessarily the $280 million if they got closer. We know in listening to all the coverage about Aaron Judge's re-signing with the New York Yankees that that's what the Yankees had to do. They had to get themselves into the ballpark because of AJ Preller and the San Diego Padres rumored offer of $400 million. The Red Sox, however, refused to do it. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Red Sox do the rest of this offseason and how this affects the market for Rafael Devers. And now the third takeaway, and in my opinion, the most important takeaway. The signing of Xander Bogaerts gives the San Diego Padres a safety net, an insurance plan should Manny Machado decide to opt out after the 2023 season. Yes, Manny is arguably one of the greatest third basemen defensively that we've ever seen, one of the best offensive players in Major League Baseball right now, came in second in the 2022 National League Most Valuable Player race, but that doesn't guarantee that he's going to stay in San Diego, especially with all the money that's been thrown around this offseason, and obviously every offseason is different. But if Manny opts out, there's very little question that he will likely be the second best player on the market behind Shohei Ohtani. And with the way that money flew throughout this winter meetings, there's no question in my mind that Manny could opt out and get more. So being able to sign Xander Bogaerts to an 11-year deal with his ability to not just play shortstop, but arguably be able to move over to third base. He played third base for the 2013 World Series winning Red Sox when he came up as a rookie, so he can definitely go back to that position. This gives the Padres a safety net because more than likely, and in my opinion, Manny will opt out after 2023 unless he has a really poor season. If Manny has an awful season, he's staying put. But if Manny has any resemblance of a Manny Machado season, he's opting out. And this gives the Padres a very, very comparable player, very competent player to be able to man third base for them. So, in my opinion, a very good signing for the San Diego Padres, a very interesting signing by the Padres, seeing how they already had two shortstops, and we kind of knew that there was going to be some sort of upheaval when it came to Fernando Tatis Jr. So it's interesting to see how it's all going to play out. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings on Xander Bogaerts and his new 11-year deal worth $280 million to the San Diego Padres. Let me know your thoughts on how it's going to affect the Padres lineup, how it's going to affect Fernando Tatis Jr. Let me know all these thoughts down in the comment section below, or find me over on Twitter at banter_baseball, and we can keep the conversation rolling. If you want to show more support for us here at the Baseball Banter Broadcast, you can do so by one of two ways. We have our merchandise shop, baseballbanterbroadcast.com, and we have our media website, laracuenteledger.com. Both have links down in the show notes below. So if you want to show more support for us here, head over to those, and you can do a big service by purchasing some merchandise as well as checking out our website for written media articles. So I want to thank you guys for joining us here today. Keep it locked in here on this YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. That's a big service as we continue to try to grow this community. Let all of your friends that are baseball fans know this is the channel to watch in 2023. So I will catch you guys on the next video with the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.